Hello everyone at Boca Grove. This is Tana Masser and I'm with Daou Family Estates. We're a family owned and operated property in Paso Robles, California, which is south of Napa, north of Los Angeles in the Adelaide district. And some of you might have visited that part of the country, some of you might not. So this is a great introduction to our wines from Paso Robles. My name's Tana. Once again, I live right up the road from you guys. And we're going to go to a video right now so you can kind of see the landscape of our property, and it gives you a sense of place of Daou Mountain.
Okay.
In French, they say "Le monde appartient à ceux qui se réveillent tôt." It means the world belongs to those who wake up early. The entire national sales team woke up, and everyone is here to celebrate another sunrise and another day that we have to make an impact on the world. So we want you to know that we're prepared to do whatever we need to do to make sure you're successful.
I look at the passion in the eyes of this sales team, and it brings warmth to my heart. Whoever has a great relationship with George Daou and Daniel Daou, your sales score. So all we ask is that you take us to the party.
I can't tell you how many people I've sat down with where we're not building account base, we're growing our family, and our accounts to us are our partners.
I obsess about the consumer online, and I make sure that they're driven in-store, on-premise, so that when they look at a bottle, when they look at a wine list, they instinctively know to pull down.
This estate was built to be a retreat for our trade and distributor partners. And our mission every day is to create an experience that's as beautiful as these wines. And everyone who leaves here feels like family.
My brethren in the world of sommeliers, and look around and know we are making some of the greatest wines in the world. And we are making them at astounding prices. And we've done it here in a decade.
Everything we've strived to do in the last 10 years is to creating a system that allows us to be confident to tell you that year after year we will deliver incredible wines that will make you extremely happy and wanting to come back. That's our commitment. We feel confident about it. You can be sure that when you open a bottle of the wines that we made here, you will be very proud.
We love our distributors!
Okay, so I've changed into my rosé here. If you didn't, I'll tell you, first of all, I think while we're doing any of these things, we always should have something in our glass. So let's just make sure we've got something in our glass, because I know how my husband feels about me talking when he doesn't have anything in his glass. So I don't want you all to experience that same effect. Now, we just introduced from Daou Mountain this year our 2019 rosé in this beautiful package right here. Can you see there? And I'll tell you a little bit about the rosé as we go along, but the main thing I want you to know about Daou Mountain is that we are very new to the wine industry. You saw the two brothers there in the video, George and Daniel, and they're two brothers that came to America in the 80s to go to college. They were born in Beirut, Lebanon, and one of the first bombs of the Civil War in Lebanon, in Beirut, landed on their home. And George, the gentleman that spoke first, who's 4 years older, is one of the brothers, the proprietor. Our other brother, Daniel, is 4 years younger. He's our winemaker and proprietor. They were both, the entire family was gravely injured and affected by this bombing in the late 70s. So they fled to France. So the boys grew up in the south of France, and that's where their appreciation and love of wine came from. It wasn't, they had family. You can look at Napa first growth families, they'll have 50 years worth of, you know, vineyards and property. And what they wanted to do was just be the best shepherds of what they could bring to everyone and bring an experience like this to us. So when they came to America in the 80s, they started in the tech industry. It wasn't the wine industry. They always had that love. But the tech industry brought them to California, and they went to California, UC Davis, and not UC Davis. Every winemaker goes to UC Davis. But University of California in San Diego. And that's where Daou was brought about. So in 2012, they started searching for the right kind of place to make wine. And they knew they needed two components, and they needed the soils of the right bank of Bordeaux in France, and they needed the temperature of St. Helena right north of Napa. Because what that brings you are calcareous limestone soils and temperatures that don't get over 100 degrees. Now, everyone thinks about the San Jose area and Paso Robles as being very hot. We're what I said earlier on Daou Mountain. So Daou Mountain is at 2,200 feet. We're at the highest point in the Adelaida district. We have 220 acres planted on the mountain. So when we have blistering, hold please, blistering temperatures, say out at the airport, you know, 105, 106, we'll be in the 90s on Daou Mountain. So to think about what that can do to our fruit is truly remarkable. So that's how we came about Daou Mountain. If you've studied wine, and you've heard of a gentleman called Andrei Chelichek, and he was the, you know, he's known as like the godfather of wine or the father of winemaking, and he mentored such as, you know, Mondavi and all these guys. He's said passed away, but he was the kind of guy that rolled around in the dirt. He didn't like look at something and go, oh, I think I'll buy that property over there. He literally rolled around in the dirt on Daou Mountain and told the original owners years and years ago that this was a jewel of ecological elements, that there was something within this soil that was magical, and it was going to bring about wines that would be rivaled all over the world. So it was truly something brought to the brothers through connections, through search, through science, because they knew exactly what they needed. Now, if you look at the rosé, some people are going to say, and watch me on time, and I told you guys, I'll start going and drinking. You never know what I'll be driving down there pretty soon. The rosé is really light in color, as you see, more kind of like my Bisley versus a pink. This is to be in true French style. The brothers, as I said, grew up in the south of France. Their mother was she had dual citizenship. So this is what Danny calls a flash press. So it's just quickly pressed because, you know, you're going to get the color from the skins. I see you all listening back there. You're going to get your color from the skin. So if we flash press it, you get this nice light salmon color. And this is 95% Sauvignon Blanc. I lie. 95% Grenache and 5% Sauvignon Blanc, anywhere from 3 to 5. And what Danny says, we call Danny. Danny says that what gives it that real Provence style, that little French flair, is that not 100% Grenache grape. So this is our first vintage of this. 2019 was one of our wettest vineyards on season. And it's absolutely lovely. It's the first rosé we've made that we've brought to wholesale. So first one to you guys, so cheers.
For us to show the first video, the next video.
Or should we go Sauv Blanc?
Yeah, we're showing the George video.
Okay, George.
Okay.
Hello from Pebble Beach. This is George Daou. I wanted to take a minute to say to you, thank you. We understand that you have several products to sell during this economy, and you've chosen to represent us and our family and our passion and our effort, our creativity and our imagination to the grocery stores and the off-premise world in order for the consumer to pull our brand and enjoy it with their family. We are forever grateful for our relationship. What we do from the heart. Our relationship with you means a lot to us, as it is you who are introducing our brand, our products, our fine wines to the world of consumers. So we know it's a difficult time now for everyone, and we want you to know that we are strong, we are growing, we are continuing to produce wine. We have sent all of our consumer-facing people home. We have become a digital company, and we look forward to supporting the efforts of our mutual customers as we roll out our various initiatives, including many Instagram Live events, launching the Rosé this weekend, internet-wise, using Instagram. We're seeing a lot of demand for the product, and we're inviting them to go to the grocery stores and buy it, which gives our business an opportunity to continue thriving. Thank you very much one more time on behalf of Danny and I and the rest of our team. We could absolutely not have done this without the commitment and the loyalty you've shown us over the years. I hope we get through this event successfully together, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this tunnel. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tana.
He just brings tears to my eyes. I love that man. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And when I speak about the brothers, oftentimes I'll get up in front of sales groups and I can't finish telling the whole story because it's so touching and moving and what they want to bring to us. And, you know, they've always said to us, we're not a wine company. You guys aren't wine people. We're you know, people in the wine industry. This is a people business. This is about, you know, doing things we enjoy and love. So now I'll bring you to our Sauv Blanc. This is our second vintage of Sauv Blanc that we've had out in the market. Actually, this is our first. We just released the second. And while I said the 19 season at Daou Mountain was the wettest, this is one of the longest. And now that doesn't always mean necessarily anything in particular to grapes. A lot of times winemakers will brag about, oh, we had this long extended hang time or we had the longest harvest. That doesn't necessarily mean everything in our situation because we do have so much control over what we farm, how we farm it, and what is on Daou Mountain. So this was our first Stelvin closure, which is also a screw cap, as you know. So we'll break that bad boy right open. Now, a friend of mine told me that he developed this blue for this. I told him I thought Tiffany's did, just saying. But it's very lovely. And my comment on a wine like this, I think it's wonderful for outside, especially in the climate we live in. It's bright, it's refreshing. You get grapefruit, a lot of different vibrancy. If you did mow a lawn, I would drink this after I mowed the lawn. But you got to mow the lawn first, or not. But it's that bright, crisp. It doesn't neither of those wines see any oak. So that's where you get that bright, and you might find that you're going to be a person that likes those kinds of wines that are bright and livid and more vibrant in the summer months versus wines that have seen oak, because you'll certainly be able to tell that in the palate. But I think this is really a beautiful, really fun Sauvignon Blanc. Do you girls have any questions?
We don't. The staff, I think, will ask you questions as we get closer.
As we get closer? Okay. Yeah, so this was 92 in the Wine Enthusiast. I always like to throw in, we've always got 10 fun facts about Daou you may not know, is that I've got every color of lei for every wine we're going to have today. That's not one of the facts, but we've had over, you know, we just started in 2012. 2012 is when we redid the Redwood Cherry building at the bottom of our mountain and reopened our tasting room up to America. So what you're seeing here in these wines is a series we call Discovery, because oftentimes someone will say, oh, I saw your wine at such and such, or oh, I saw your wine such and some other place. And my theory is they're all our customers, and this is the discovery level. We want everyone to discover them. If you go out to the winery, then it should be a different experience. Who would want to fly all the way to California to visit a winery and taste the same thing you're going to taste in Florida? So we make sure our experiences for all our guests that fly to California and visit us, whether it be at Daou Mountain, we've got Daou Ocean, we are starting pop-ups. We did one in Mammoth this year. So we had wine at 9,600 on Mammoth Mountain. So we want the experience to be different. What you have at Boca Grove, we want you to enjoy there in your backyard at the country club. in the dining room. But when you go to the winery, you should have a completely different experience. We want it to be an elevated experience to match the mountain, if that makes sense. So I think it helps with us supporting each other locally because we don't have that conflict. And this is, all of these in the discovery level typically are going to be between $22.99 at retail, $25.99, very in the affordable price range as far as retail wines. And you know, like I said, we want everyone to discover them. It's really important to us.
All right, you ready for the Danny video? Oh.
We could edit out that price. I wasn't thinking when I said that.
No problem.
Yeah. Listen to me. You guys can edit. Yeah.
All of you out there for helping us, supporting our winery and our family the way you have. Very difficult times. We know these have been very tough times, but we want to thank all the brave men out there still promoting our wines, still supporting our winery, still putting our wines at the forefront of every grocery store, every retail store, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate everything you have done for us. In the meantime, here at the winery, the production team is at work daily, continuing to strive to produce stellar wines that we're producing and releasing to the market for many years. We are busy bottling, we're busy racking, we are busy planting a whole new vineyard, and thank you again for all your support. We appreciate it.
We're back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So that might have been, you know, what we can also do for everyone on the call is that I can link you up to different things. We just launched our new website. So we've got a lot of different materials. They're on the website now. We just launched this last Friday a song by a gal named Corey English. If you're a country music fan, she's from Nashville. Her original group was called Broke Down Cadillac. And she just introduced a song. It just dropped, our CD dropped on last Friday. And it's called Rosé All Day. And Daniel and George that you just saw in the past videos are driving these girls around the vineyard. They filmed the entire music video at Daou Mountain. And the song is called Rosé All Day. And it's catchy. And we've just been waiting and waiting. They filmed it last October just for it to release. So if you guys want to hear about that or see that, if you have any interest in country music, I encourage you to support that because it really is a fun little catchy tune. And I'll show you, you'll recognize the mountain from the first video. So we're going to roll into the Pinot Noir. Daniel had only made some Pinot Noirs for Wine Club and some different, you know, as I was explaining, different levels of membership and, you know, getting involved with the winery. So this wine was one of our first Pinots to wholesale out to the general in the Discovery series, if you can see there. And we were talking earlier about glassware, and I know the master over there, the Hole, said that, you know, we want to use the right glasses. I don't know if anyone really realizes that this glass was made just for Pinot Noir. It was made by an organ, for organ producers in general, but I think they work wonderfully for all Pinot Noirs. It's got this little lip on the top. And as long as you don't give the club pour, you know what I'm talking about. If you just give it just enough, then you can get some air in there and you can really, you know, without, you know, doing it and spilling it all over the floor. So you can really get a lot of nice aromas out of there. So this wine is all Central Coast fruit. Danny's used a lot of grapes from Solomon Hills and Gary's Vineyard, but this for broad market, our main point was, and what you find in a very difficult situation with a Pinot like this, is finding a varietally correct Pinot and a Pinot that's 100%. Most often, it will have something blended in with it. This is 100% Pinot Noir, so it's very true to, you know, how Daniel likes to make everything. We're not going to enrich things by colors. You can't change, you can't change what you're getting out of the vineyard. So I still got a lot of earth on this, And I think that brings us to our maritime influence. If you look on the map of where we're located, if I were there, I'd pull the map right here for you, and I'd point where we are. The Templeton Gap blows up through and provides a lot of cool air. So we'll have a diurnal shift on Daou Mountain of sometimes 40 to 50 degrees. So what that does for a grape that's like Pinot, that's very fickle and needs a lot of pampering and babying, that allows it to get those nice warm spikes in the day and then cools down at night, so you get extended hang time. And like I said, on this vintage, it was one of the wettest, so it, you know, it really got a lot of nice moisture. I still get a lot of earth in this. We'll see what the guys think after they try it. What do you ladies think?
Good.
But at this price point, what's really hard to find is something that is 100% Pinot. You're gonna typically get something mixed in with Syrah. You don't have to put on the label what you have, because you only have to have a certain amount in each different region to qualify to put that on the label. So I think that people, what they're really drinking, if they would start researching to make sure they're drinking 100% Pinot Noir, they're really gonna find a lot of different Pinots are gonna pair with different heavier foods. You know, the first thing you do is whether you can see your hand on the other side of it. You know, I mean, you can tell if it's, you know, typically where the country, where it's coming from, and what you're going to get for it, as far as if it's going to overwhelm the dish or if it can mix with both things in general. You know, sometimes I always think you can have salmon and a salad, and a gentleman could certainly have pork and some kind of mushroom dish, and it would pair beautifully. So I love it. I'm a huge Pinot fan. Like I said, I love smelling, I think what we say, the terroir, the dirt in that, the dirty barnyard in it. It doesn't, I just like that style. I'm not I guess I'm much more of a, I don't know. You never know. It depends on what day of the week it is too, right? But I'm really excited about, Danny's making a few other single vineyard ones, one specifically from Solomon Hill and one from Gary's Vineyard. So we'll have a lot of different tasting opportunities for Pinots moving forward as we go on, because we're typically known as a cab house. So cheers to the Pinot. And we're going into the Reserve Cab. What would one do with this Pinot? Okay, I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to go back to my cooler. Okay, so this is, now when I was talking earlier about our Discover series, I lied, because now this is our Reserve series. And this is, we only have 2 Reserve wines in the state of Florida. We have Reserve Cabernet and Reserve Chardonnay. And this Reserve Cabernet is what we call our bang for the buck wine. This wine is absolutely phenomenal. It all comes off the mountain. Some of this fruit, you know, we only have 200 acres on the mountain, not everything is coming off the mountain. When anything says reserve, it is definitely coming off the mountain. And what do we have from the mountain? We have everything hand-picked, hand-harvested. There's no machinery that touches it. Danny does everything with this wine. It is 100% free-run juice. We use a regimen of about 16 months on 50% new French oak. We actually go to the extreme of Daniel goes to France and we pick our own cooperage. And we don't necessarily use it for all the wines, but we do on a lot of the red wines, especially those that are estate, reserve, that come off the mountain. And it comes from a forest, it's called Bois Rosé, which means pink wood. And he will actually pick this cooperage. He'll work on the toast, you know, whether it's a medium toast, how tightly grained the wood is. All these are all French barrels. And then he'll put them out in the elements for up to 5 years. And then he uses them. So every time anybody talks about the affordability of a wine, you know, the first question is it aged in American or French oak? You know, how long? Because that keeps your barrels tied up and your wine in there before you put it into the bottle to age. So this is really, really, really a remarkable wine. It's 100% Cabernet. I just love it. It speaks volumes to what's coming off the mountain. We did a judgment of Paso like they did the judgment of Paris years ago when most of I see you down there weren't born. And, you know, when they wanted to come out to Paso, the people from the Wine Advocate, and they said, George and Daniel said, we want to have you all come out and taste our wines in brown paper bags and taste them against all wines rated over 95 points that are over $100. And this was on their first 2010 Soul of a Lion, our flagship wine. And he said, well, we'll come out and do that, but you're going to have to allow us to publish any results we have. So if we blind taste your wine out of that brown bag and we think we're going to put it in the Wine Advocate. And they walked away saying that our wines would stand up against any wines in the world. And they call it the Judgment of Paso. And you can find that also on the internet. And it shows the wines that we were up against. And that year we got a 96 points on our Soul of a Lion. So over the course of time, as I said, we've had over 300 scores since 2012, over 90 points. So we've really, you don't live and die by those, but when they keep getting better, I feel our wines are getting better. It's the attention to detail. Everything we do is based on Daniel's palate and his phenolics to produce the highest phenolics in a Cabernet in the world, and all the wines actually. He has a 5 system that he takes the wines through, mostly through his palate, and decides how he's going to grade those wines and where they end up. And right here we're drinking A+ fruit. So we really go through a lot of steps and every attention to detail. And one little thing before I let you go, I was with George during harvest last year, and Daniel would be calling, and he's just nervous about this and nervous about that. And George got off the phone. He said, every year, for 12 years, he said, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sleeping. And then at the end of harvest, he'll call and he'll go, it was the best vintage ever. So every year we just keep looking forward to the best vintage ever. And that's what makes it exciting. It's still living and breathing in the bottle. We don't know what it's going to do after you get it home and open it up. And we trust you're going to store it nicely and coddle the bottle and make sure you treat it the nice temperature and don't put it in your golf cart and leave it there and things like that. But we appreciate your support. Carter's been great. Jen, everybody, I love you guys. I'm right up the road and I can't wait to come visit you. Cheers. Stay safe.
Did everyone ask questions?
I put my tie on for the Reds.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you if you don't mind to do a little kind of walkthrough again with the wines one more time.
Absolutely.
I want the team to sort of understand, how we look at wine. Like we talked last week to them a little bit about how, you can take the wine, like this is the Sauvignon Blanc, right?
Absolutely.
A white sheet of paper, and you hold the wine up and you can get an idea on the age, right? Based on the
Sure.
around the rim. And we're trying to also teach them, we brought a smell box in. It's got 88 different scents. So when you talked about that barnyard smell earlier, I'm totally with you on that. I'm an old world girl when it comes to it, and I like that barnyard thing. But I want them to start to learn about it. So if you wouldn't mind maybe talking them through, we're going to open up the mic in that room. I doubt they'll participate. Hugo might, but that's probably the only one.
That's okay.
To you. But I want to kind of go through what you smell, what you taste, so they can kind of learn that.
Yeah, and I'll tell them that I'll make sure that they get some things over there because I'll do it. I gotcha.
Yeah, because they've got the wine, so it's good for them to know that. All right, thank you. They're unmuted.
Okay, hey guys, I'm back. I'm gonna bring out the Sauvignon Blanc again. And when you first of all, when you look at these wines, and we were talking about them, you can go through some really simple processes, but you guys are way you're beyond advanced on that. You know this is a still wine, it's not sparkling, right? So you figure out if it's a still or sparkling wine. And then when you look at it, as we said, and you put a piece of paper up to it like this, and you can see right through it, or I could pour Chardonnay. You can typically tell by that color if it's had any oak influence. This line, most Sauvignon Blancs have not. I can't think of one that you'd be selling in your club that has seen oak. Most rosés have not, as you see from that color. Chardonnays, yes, and you'll be able to see the varying degree as you look at the color. What you're going to smell in this type of Sauvignon Blanc, California, pineapple, grapefruit. It's not going to be that grassy New Zealand. That's where you're going to tell the distinction between those two almost instantly. You'll be able to smell California and go, oh, grapefruit. You smell the other and you go, down under. So those are two different worlds for Sauvignon Blanc. And typically the women you're going to, I use that liberally, but the people who are going to be drinking Sauvignon Blanc, they're going to know what style they like. They've probably not had a Sauvignon Blanc from Paso Robles. So this is a great way to upsell to something that they have not had before. Once again, throw out the points, 92 wine enthusiasts, two brothers owned, you've got all those good talking points and selling points to upsell them to something that, is in its infancy stages. I always say, get on now, because we're on a rocket ship and you want to be a part of something fun moving forward. When they talk about being part of the family, you are part of the family. I see you back there, chef. We could bring you out and do a private dinner with our chefs. It would be fun. Rosé, I get a lot of bright strawberry, but I'm also the girl power of suggestion. If someone mentions something to me, you can talk your guest into it. You can talk them into smelling that. A lot of people haven't smelled, say, boysenberry before, or they've never been to the south of France. So you have to really improv and, use what you know from something else and think about that. But if you, the thing to remember on the rosé is made in Paso, French at heart. You want to introduce it as a French style dry rosé because that's exactly what it is. It's not made in a very conventional rosé type of way that's going to have that fruit, which you can also tell by the color. If you look at a rosé and it's got that really dark pinky hue, first thing is always check the vintage. You might, we're not going to have older vintages now, but check the vintage. You might have an older vintage. That's going to cause some bottle aging and change in color. But if you don't have that change in color like on this rosé, it's not going to be sweet because the sweetness is going to be coming from the time spent in contact with the skins. So I told you it was flash pressed and out the door she goes. So nice, crisp, and you're going to get that from both of those. Pinot Noir. Some people are going to be very finicky about their Pinots and they'll look at some of them and say, oh, they're thin. I'm sure you've heard that. Oh, it's a thin Pinot Noir. That's not necessarily the case. And as I said, and it has a lot to do with able to see your hand through it. A really thin one, you're going to be able to see your hand through it, or you can read through it. I guess that's the whole shtick behind it. If you can read the piece of paper through your, 18 font in black, then it's probably it's a not too thin Pinot. This one's, this one has enough fruit concentration that you can't really see in it. But you're going to always get the dark black raspberry, dark fruit. Those are typically associated with Pinot Noirs. And a lot of people are going to say, well, I want something that's much more dark than that. They really probably truly aren't a real Pinophile like I would say I am. I love a Pinot that's 100% Pinot. It's got something else blended in that. But that's just something to be aware of. And, you can always tell, Pinot's always going to see oak. They're not going to be as high of alcohol. Your whiter wines are going to be lower. Like the rosé is, I think, 13.7. That's a really nice porch pounder. I'd encourage bottles of that. But the Pinot, then you can always throw in those. People are always going to recognize Pinots, whether it's going to be from overseas, from Oregon, to whatever they like with it. This kind of brings all of it into, you get enough fruit, you still get enough earth, you get that mushroomy. Then on the cab, definitely you're not going to, pair this with a salad. Look at the deep, dark concentration. I was explaining about how Daniel Daou chooses what wines, or how we look at the grapes and what he decides to put into a bottle, and he grades it in a series of five different series. And I was explaining about the phenolics. Our phenolics are some of the highest in the world. We don't share that information with everyone. We share it with people like you that we consider our partners, part of our family. It's a proprietary, we use a proprietary yeast, a proprietary cooperage, and we also have this proprietary phenolic system where the highest phenolics are going to give you this color 10 years from now. And that's the point when you open up a red wine, like even a Pinot or a Cab, and it starts looking like the color of a brick. You guys know what I'm talking about? and it looks rusty and orange, it's losing some of those chemical compounds that hold it together. That's what Daou wines do differently. And the phenolics are so high that 10 years from now, if you open this wine, and I've done it with Daniel, we opened a 2010 and a 2018. So I had 8 years difference and there was not a change in color. So it's science in his palate, but you can tell a lot by the age and how this was structured by how it performs in the glass and what you see in the glass. And as the vintages go on, you'll be able to notice those as they change. And I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think I got all my answers.
No, what was that? I heard Hugo and some mumbling. Oh, good. What did everyone think? Download the video.
You're hilarious. Tana, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it, okay?
I want to come visit.
Oh, that's all.
I had props.
Oh
I'm wearing a tie and a jacket and shorts.
Keep going.
Oh my gosh.
I love you guys.
Bye.